My last guest of the week is a man of many talents. Dan Smith is a singer, songwriter and record producer, and is probably best known as the frontman of British rock band Bastille, responsible for hits like Happier and Pompeii. Well, they've just released their fourth album, and as part of a UK tour, they'll be in Cardiff next month. He joins me now. How nice to have you on the show, Dan.
How are you doing? Thanks so much for having me.
We are delighted to have you here. Now, look, your new album is called Give Me the Future. Bit of an intriguing title. What's it all about?
That's a big question. Well, I guess we wanted to make an album about escapism, and we started it before the first lockdown and before the kind of pandemic really hit. And I was really just fascinated by the idea of all these different things that we do to distract ourselves and get ourselves out of our own minds and out of our lives, be that reading or films or fantasies or dreams or whatever fiction or vice you might have. And as the pandemic kind of hit and we were living through lockdowns, I guess escapism became such a vital part of all of our lives, and we were all thinking about the future quite a lot and what that might look like because it's so uncertain. And I guess that's where the album kind of really crystallized and became this weird sort of science fiction record about the different ways that we escape via technology and via our dreams and fantasies and all that kind of stuff. But so it became this big kind of conversation about the future and what that might look like. The fact that real life often feels a little bit like a weird science fiction at the moment, anyway. But ultimately, it's a pop record, and like all good sci-fi, we wanted it to have interesting, complicated, nuanced conversations, but also.
Oh, has he gone?
So yeah.
So it feels like you were ahead of the curve almost with that.
Not on purpose. I mean, unfortunately, our third album, the one before this, was called Doom Days, and it was about one big night out during an apocalypse. And again, unfortunately, that felt a lot of our fans kept ribbing us for being annoyingly ahead of the curve with that as well. I obviously wish we hadn't been.
How do you do it, Dan? Now, look, how would you best describe Bastille's sound, and how does this album differ from your previous albums?
Oh, good question. I think it's kind of escapist, cinematic, alternative pop, I think is maybe how I'd describe it. I write the songs, we work on them together, and the first album we made basically on a laptop in my bedroom, and then with my friend in his basement studio. And I guess because we were, living in London, finishing university, working different jobs, the music was all about kind of imagining we were somewhere else. So, songs like Pompeii and Icarus and Laura Palmer, which is based on David Lynch's Twin Peaks. These were all kind of us imagining ourselves via the music we were making into other places and other spaces and into these different worlds. This album, I think, is the first time we've really collaborated. So even though we made it during an isolated time, we wanted to bring in loads of different people we've met along the way. I write a lot of songs for other people, and so I've been lucky enough to work with loads of really interesting songwriters, and pulling people like that into the process. And friends of ours who are musicians, and Riz Ahmed, the actor and the rapper, he has a track on this album because it was really important to me with all these big, like, far-reaching themes. It was important that we had other voices on the record as well. But this album, I think, is potentially a little bit more electronic than other things that we've made. I think in deciding that the album was going to be this sort of like quote-unquote science fiction, it allowed us to think like, well, we're going to occupy this sound and this space for this one album, and then who knows what we'll do next. But yeah, that's kind of how I describe it. I hope that makes sense.
Are you trying to tell a story as such? I mean, what does the album say about where you are right now, or indeed how you see the world, for that matter?
I think we're trying to speak kind of honestly, humanly, and non-judgmentally about just how bizarre it is to be living your life in 2022. Yes. How we all exist. Our relationships continue. We all have to work and, have families and friends and lives and all that kind of stuff. And, nothing is any less complicated, but it's all filtered through technology, which has just become such a massively interstitched part of pretty much everything we do, for a lot of people, and how, in some ways that's amazing and it's really empowering and it can connect you with people and it can give you amazing opportunities and entertainment and all of these things, but it can also be really isolating, really addictive and really divisive. So I think the album is about kind of going in and out of these different visions and fantasies and going the future and the past, but it's also about being grounded back in the room. There's a song halfway through, Shut Off the Lights, which is about the person that you're with, kind of pulling you back out of your head and out of your kind of fears and anxieties about the future, back into the room, back into the bed, and saying, like, can we just try and enjoy this thing right now rather than letting our minds wander too far? So it's this sort of, it's a kind of concept album, it's a kind of narrative, and it goes, I guess, in and out of VR. But I think the thing we kind of realized when we set out to make this sci-fi, and ultimately real life right now kind of feels like the dystopian fiction of the past in a lot of ways. So
yeah, we don't need sci-fi, do we? We've got it. I know. Now, you mentioned Shut Off the Lights, and we're going to listen to the new single in just a moment. As you say, it's about someone trying to drag you back from that, back into the room. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's the person that you're with, sort of pulling you out of your own head and saying, like, stop it, just, like try and enjoy this and what you've got right now. Like, but the song is really fun. Like, it's our kind of love letter to Paul Simon and to Graceland and, and all the amazing music that kind of inspired him. It's a song that's filled with our friends, all of our live touring crew, who obviously had a really tough time over the last couple of years because the whole industry just imploded. They all happened to be at the studio one day moving some things about, and Mark, our producer, was like, guys, why don't you all sing on this song? So the chorus, the big group chorus, is all of our live crew who we've worked with, for going nearly 10 years now. And, other people that we've been lucky enough to tour with, John G, Ritapo, this incredible saxophonist, he has an amazing moment in the middle of the song. And I love it just because all the guys in the band, like Will's bass line is amazing, Charlie's guitar is brilliant, all Woody's percussion and Kyle's sort of synth stuff, all of it sort of coalesces around this song that's kind of about not thinking about the future for a minute and enjoying the present. And it's kind of fun. And, yeah.
What a build-up. Shut Off the Lights, the new single from Bastille, is coming up. It's Lynn Bowles here, BBC Radio Wales, and that was Shut Off the Lights, the new single from my special guest this afternoon, Dan Smith, singer, songwriter and frontman of the band Bastille. As you were saying, Dan, it sounds like you've got a cast of thousands on the old chorus there. They sound great.
Yeah, no, I know. Who'd have thought all those roadies coming together to make a nice big Welsh choir of a chorus.
You're leaning against an open door here, love. It sounds really anthemic. I can hear the audience singing that back to you at a live concert.
Yeah, no, that's we've done a few sort of small shows recently in the build up to the big arena tour. And it's definitely an easy win to teach them the chorus and then shove the microphone in the audience's direction and hear them sing it back. Yeah,
and they will definitely. Now you were talking about the whole lockdown experience for you a little bit earlier on, and apart from composing for a new album, apart from that, what did you do?
Well, I don't know. I guess everyone reacted differently, didn't they? I just sort of felt the need to stay busy. I think, like a lot of people at the beginning, I wanted to be useful. So I was working a few days a week at a food bank and doing the NHS volunteering as well. And then writing songs in the evening. So kind of carrying on making the album. I also was running a film club for our fans. So every week we'd go to a different country via a film. And then I'd take all their questions and go through them and sift through the sort of hundreds of questions and give those questions then to the filmmaker. So it's not making sense. But I would then interview basically the director of the film or an actor from the film and put the questions of fans to them and do that as a kind of show once a week. So that was a nice thing. It gave a kind of regularity. It gave me a little taste of what your job must be like. Turns out it's really hard. Well done.
Thank you. Very kind.
And so, I guess that, and I was writing for the people, doing some writing over Zoom. When we could make the album in real life, we'd get in the studio together and make music. And for me, it was actually a really a really busy time. But I think, you know, we all reacted in different ways. And for me, it was like, how can I fill every minute and pretend this isn't happening?
Yeah, pretend it's not. Dan, I'm really interested because I would expect, you know, just going by your CV, that you'd get some of your mates together or you'd do kind of like live sessions for an Instagram thing. But you did Distraction Tactic, which is, you know, about film. So I'm taking that you're a pretty big film fan.
I'm such a mega film nerd. Yeah, totally. And I think you can hear that in our music. You know, we make a lot of pop culture references. And, you know, I was lucky enough to get to direct one of the videos off of this album as well. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's been, growing up, I was way more obsessed with films than I was with music, for sure. And I never really envisaged being in a band. So it's quite a surreal position to be in. But I think I was just thinking during lockdown about when it came to the Distraction Tactics, the film club, it was like, what can we do that's kind of fun and inclusive and, you know, it could help build a little community? Because I think, you know, everyone was freaking out and looking for different ways to kind of distract themselves. So that felt like a thing. Well, Dan Smith, are we going to lose you from music and you're going to end up filmmaking? Oh, absolutely not.
No?
No way. No, I mean, it's been fun kind of working on a few different projects, you know, making some music for different films and, you know, writing some things with some friends. But I, you know, music is, it's just, I guess making films is a lot of work and I'm lazy. So it's quite nice to get to sort of make a little visual musical film in my head and then turn it into a song. Right. That's, I guess, way easier for me.
Now, you will not realise this, but on Fridays we have our own film guru, Gary Slaymaker, coming in and telling us his weekly review. He reviewed The Batman earlier. Now, is that your kind of film? Dark, troubled superhero? Is that you?
I wouldn't call myself a troubled superhero, but troubled, sure.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm fascinated to see that film. I guess the fact that it's 3 hours long is I've not really read any reviews yet, but it looks pretty amazing. It has the potential to be great. And obviously coming on the heels of Joker, I hope that it's anywhere near as good as that and in the same vein. But yeah, definitely. I mean, like my taste in film is mega eclectic, and I weirdly started off when I was like 11. I was really obsessed with Scream and like horror films, which I'm sure my parents were really proud of. But that got me into loads of more left field cinema and world cinema and stuff as well. So I think, I'm a real film geek, but definitely not a snob at all. Like there's space for everything, and that's what we tried to do in the film club as well. Particularly because it was a sort of tough time for a lot of people. We were trying to find films that were like the films of Taika Waititi, Hunt for the Wilder People. This is a brilliant film from New Zealand. That's just it's distracting and it's kind of fun. And that doesn't mean that it's not a brilliant film, but it was about trying to find films that were the right kind of escapism.
That's a good recommendation, I think. Now, I said in my introduction that Bastille are touring. How does it feel to be performing in front of a live audience again?
It's so surreal. We just did a small tour around the release of the album where we played in independent venues with kind of independent record stores. And it was so nice just being in rooms with real people. Things have felt so detached and intangible for the last 2 years, and, you know, for everyone in whatever they do. So it was kind of obviously quite odd at the beginning, but then just became so nice. It all kind of comes flooding back. And for us to get to release an album, but actually meet people every night who love our music and want to come and spend their evening with us and part with their money. Like it was really like humbling and nice. And I'm glad we got to do that before we now go and do this big kind of arena show with all of its kind of production and staging and escapism, because it was kind of nice to get to be in these small rooms and look everybody in the eye and chat with everyone and, I don't know, do something more intimate.
Well, we're very pleased to say that you will be in Cardiff on Wednesday the 13th of April at the Motorpoint Arena in Cardiff. It's many congratulations on the success of Give Me the Future. Best wishes to Bastille with the tour and the travels this year. And keep watching the films. You never know, we might need to call you. You know, you could do a review for us if that's all right.
We're also just, if it's all right, I'd love to shout out Estelle, our manager, who lives in Monmouthshire, is very, very proud Welsh person.
Yes.
And we're very excited to play a gig vaguely close to her when we get to play at the Motorpoint Arena. So
brilliant. Thank you, Dan. Don't forget, Bastille will be performing in Cardiff Wednesday, 13th of April at the Motorpoint Arena. Thanks, Dan.